people are having hard times making ends meet. Why have we built all these parks if we're not going to continue to support them? And if we have this ability to move a portion of this from capital funding of the parks to general funding of the parks, and are willing to put that oversight through finance and park recreation department on where those dollars go, I'd be in favor of listening more to those discussions and seeing where we could go.
I have no problem with reallocating some of the money to Tiger Point Park. I think we have enough surplus in there. These are hard times for a lot of people, and I just don't see any need to further cause people grief.
Well, that was all very good. I'm glad to see that there is some agreement.
There's also some disagreement.
Yeah, there is some disagreement, and Commissioner Gordon Gooden, and I will say, I do give him and have given him points in the past. At least he will speak up. I don't think you typically don't have to guess what his opinion is on something, and it's okay to spar with him over that, and he won't call you names or anything. But he definitely had a difference of opinion on this, and
well, let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say and come back from that. This is Commissioner Gordon Gooden on converting some of these franchise fees from capital to operations funds for parks.
Regard to the parks, I don't feel like we've put a burden on them. I think we've provided a tremendous amount, millions of dollars of assets to provide opportunities. To that end, I know that the way of doing business yesterday and the way we'll be doing business tomorrow are not the same. If you want to send me your budgets, I'll take a look at them the same way I take a look at these budgets. I think we made a huge mistake last week when we gave money to the zoo. One gentleman mentioned that. I think we made a huge mistake because we gave it to him with no strings attached and no accountability and no performance requirements. So let's take a look at your budgets. Let's have that conversation as Commissioner Cole looks. Let's see if there are places that we can see in your budget that we can help, and it may be things that we haven't had that discussion on before.
Well, he doesn't agree.
He doesn't agree. Commissioner Gooden, I'm with you. Certainly, I want to see everybody's books, and I think all the books should be open.
I think that's where I have my problem with Commissioner Gooden's philosophy on the zoo, because we heard this during the vote when he disagreed with the vote to allocate $125,000 towards the zoo. Right. He said his philosophy prevented him from approving it. He didn't agree with giving basically free money to nonprofits. He said they weren't accountable. How many millions of dollars has Commissioner Gooden approved in the past 4 years to go to Team Santa Rosa, who is a nonprofit, whose, I can assure you, books are completely unavailable, who has, to my understanding, zero accountability, zero transparency, yep, no performance standards?
Well, I'll just, my little piling on this one is, Commissioner Gooden, you can't have it both ways. I appreciate your spirit, and I think I understand where you're coming from, but Team Santa Rosa has at least $4 million that you have you approved. You might not have said, yes, I want them to have it, but you approved. You moved for approval without objection,
without any kind of philosophical problem at all.
And that's my difference with you on that item. You can't have it both ways. If we're gonna insist upon open transparency and accountability everywhere taxpayer money goes, then we have to do it for everything. We can't pick and choose. So,
and let's go ahead and reiterate that the county has had no contract or agreement or ordinance or any kind of legal relationship at all
with Team
exactly.
With Team Santa Rosa. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I've kind of been fooled by some people. We had one commissioner who lost re-election, who has just come out swinging, calling people names all over the place. We've had another one that lost re-election that, he's kind of been a little, in my humble opinion, a little pushy and ugly on how he's running the meeting since he lost re-election. And then we have Commissioner Salter, who only won by 1,300 votes, and I kind of thought that there might have been a little humility brought into that, but I was surprised, and I think this upcoming clip will tell you everything you need to know. And in case you're thinking that I'm already on my horsefly buzz, it won't be. This will just be my regular conversation.
Well,
on this.
and this is a discussion about lowering local taxes versus taxes that are coming from the state.
Right.
And we've had the state actually passed a law last year that forced local governments to lower the millage rate, to lower taxes, basically.
And 64% of us.
No, I'm talking about state legislation. This is a law. This
Right.
was before Amendment 1.
Right.
And this is actually the only thing that really forces them to lower it, because even through Amendment 1 they can raise the millage rate to some extent.
Right.
But this legislation passed last June actually sets that ceiling, and they can't go any further.
And they're boxed in.
What's happened now is that the state has received fewer sales tax dollars in revenue.
Right.
And of course, the sales tax dollars are what the state uses to pay for their portion of the schools' funds.
Right.
That's their school
And a lot of
funding.
other things, but a
Right.
big portion to the schools.
So, drawing in fewer sales taxes, what they've done is they've turned around and they've raised the millage rate. They help set the millage rate for the local school districts, and they've actually raised now the millage rate that the school districts have to charge.
Right.
And that has basically eliminated the savings from Amendment 1 that we would have gotten on our tax bill this year, because the state has pushed more of that school's burden onto the local school districts now.
And they have, but
And the argument is, well, they could have taken the money from somewhere else at the state level, and they could have used that to plug the hole that the loss in sales taxes created this year.
right. And
I mean, they funded many prisons. There was no loss in prison funding this year.
right. I'll just have to say once again that the state threw out a clear warning well over 3 years ago that you continue to take up every single dime of increase in local property taxes. You never give a rollback, and they fired a shot across the bow almost 3 years ago. We're going to get involved if you don't start trimming on your budget. So they got what they deserve. They continue, they got a huge windfall, $14 million extra in 1 year. Did not give any kind of a rollback.
On the county government side.
On the county government
That's
side,
correct. That is correct.
and the state didn't have any choice; they got involved.
They cut them on the government side, but on the school side, then they said, well, now you have to collect more
They asked for
in property taxes.
for local help, yes.
Yes.
So
So it ended up evening out,
right,
because the state basically didn't want to shoulder their school. They didn't want to make up their school's burden. They pushed that onto the county. districts.
and one thing we have to be careful of here is, and Commissioner Stewart made that argument many times. County government is separate from the school board. I realize that there was some changes it made, but for the purposes of this, we have to focus on what the county's doing.
Certainly, sure, absolutely.
And I'd like for our viewers now to see your Commissioner Salter in action.
This is Commissioner Salter explaining why tax bills will not really be going down much this year.